Once upon a time, a city girl named Felicity and a city boy named Peter bought an abandoned 1830s farmhouse in New York. Today is January 24th, 2025. It is a Friday, and today is going to be a bit of a catch-up video. For those of you who've been following the channel, our last update was January 4th, when we received our certificate of occupancy, which was wonderful and amazing and a huge surprise and something that we had not expected to arrive when it did. And so that was wildly exciting. Since then, work has slowed down significantly on the property. So we're going to do this video in 3 chunks. I'm going to catch you up from January 4th to January 15th. And I have some footage from the 15th on work updates that did actually happen. And then after that chunk, we will talk about what has happened between the 15th and the 24th. And that way, everybody's all caught up to speed on where we're at. And we can bring you updates more or less back, within a week or so of when they happen. So between the 4th and the 15th, so the 4th is when we got the certificate of occupancy, or we're told we got the certificate of occupancy. We actually got it on the 3rd. The big focus was getting the water system finalized. Even though we passed the plumbing inspection, the water wasn't actually turned on yet because we wanted the water filtration system in place. And so that has been a big focus of the 2 weeks between when we got the certificate and the footage from the 15th. The other big project related to the plumbing has been finishing the bathroom. So last time you guys saw it, it had just started being painted. We didn't have all the hardware up on the wall. So obviously the water being turned on is great, but if your hardware isn't installed and your bathroom's not ready to go, the water is only a piece of the puzzle. So let's take a look at the footage from the 15th and check in on where we are with both the water filtration system and the bathroom. Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta! Ladies and gentlemen, we have a bathroom. This is our sage sliding barn door, which I absolutely love, 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 love the color on this. I think it is absolutely gorgeous. And then it slides along to a bathroom. So they finished all of the painting in here. So it's all lilac. And we've got the hand towel here. We've got this really cute tiny vanity set into the wall here with the sink. And then we've got a towel rack here and the toilet here in the corner and our toilet roll holder. And then we've got the light switch and the fan and the other towel rack here, the shower in the corner. Honestly, I'm pretty pleased at how the layout of this worked. As you guys know, if you've been following for a while, we have played Tetris with this room many times. We had several different layouts in mind. We were trying to use what was left here, which was a huge basin that took up that entire, basically half of the room. And we also found a vanity that was new in box in the basement. Unfortunately, we couldn't use the existing shower floor because it was just way too big for this size space. And also, once we changed the configuration around, the vanity that we had downstairs that was new in box was too big for the space. So this is all new everything, new sink, new toilet, new shower. It's kind of echoey in here, but I assume when we get, some textiles in here, that will change a little bit. The water is running, which was not before. This is the first time I've been here with the water running, and it does not smell at all like sulfur. When we were under offer for the place, we had a water test run and they said sulfur and hard water would be your 2 biggest things. And we've been working with James to get the right sized filter for the system. And it appears that the sulfur is non-existent. I can't taste it. I can't smell it. I have a really good sense of smell and a decent sense of taste. So that's very exciting. And then I don't know if I can show you here. This is the sand, I think is what they called this. This is the accent color that Peter chose. And I wasn't sure if I would like it, but here you can see all 3 colors. You can see the basil, sand, and lilac. I really like these 3 colors, although I might go a shade lighter. I would think maybe depending on what we're doing with the trim, but I really like this color combination. So I think we're probably going to carry it through the rest of the house. I haven't tried using the toilet yet. I feel like that might be a little bit down the road, but we have running water and we have a bathroom. And in addition to the bathroom, a couple other changes. The dishwasher is in. James said there's still some work to be done on the back end, the pipes that we need to get finished, or he needs to get finished when he's back tomorrow, but the dishwasher is now under the counter where it is meant to be. They've also been framing in the attic access I can tell immediately there's no longer a huge draft of cold air coming through there. There's no insulation in there yet, but at least having the door there has stopped a lot of that cold air from funneling down into the kitchen. So that's really cool. They've also been putting the thresholds on in here in the hallway. There's still some more to do down on those ends, but that threshold is in and this threshold is in. I believe Peter might have just tried flushing the toilet. Peter? The toilet works. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And then the last change, take you here into the great room. We had to replace some of the flooring where we took out this wall that was here and then put a new one back in. So this is the replacement flooring. It certainly is cleaner than the rest of the floor. It won't be an exact color match, but I think it will be close enough. It's not so noticeable that if you weren't looking for it, I don't think you would see it at all. So that's the project as it was on January 15th. That is 9 days ago. So the question is, what's been happening in the last 9 days? Well, all of the back and forth about the water filtration system, which took about a week and a half. James is more familiar with city water requirements than hard water requirements. So there was some research needed to make sure we were getting the right filtration system, a couple consultations with a water system expert that James knows. And finally, we got the water filtration system installed, and everything was working well. And then the well stopped working. So one of the things that Peter and I want to do is get the water tested again, just because the well's been sitting and hasn't been used very much over the summer. And so just as we were getting ready to test the well pump stopped working. And not being familiar with well pumps, we of course did not know why that might be. After talking with a couple of our neighbors, they said it's very common if the well hasn't been used in a while that sediment basically backs up in the line. And that sounded like what our problem was. And James came to the same conclusion after consulting with some of his colleagues. And so a couple days after the well pump stopped working, he was able to do some kind of like reverse pressure. To be honest, I'm a little fuzzy on the details, but it basically blew the sediment out of the line and the well pump was working. So it looked like we were on track to get the water project signed off by the bank and move in by the 28th, which is my birthday. Now, spoiler alert, it is January 24th and we are not moving in 4 days. And the reason we are not moving in 4 days is there was a little bit of trouble getting the dishwasher installed. We had a couple of line leaks that happened that had to be fixed. And then James had some medical issues come up that needed to be addressed, as of course they ought to be. And so basically, we are now still looking at windows and doors as the biggest last thing. The other thing that cropped up, we got really cold weather here, as most of you have been dealing with, right? We're back up in the normal for winter temperatures now, but we got really cold weather here. And maybe a week after we had the problem with the well pump, James told us that the well had stopped bringing water to the house for a different reason, and that is that our well line is frozen somewhere along the length. It could be that it's not buried deeply enough, or it could be that where it enters the house is not insulated well enough against the winter. It's hard to tell because, of course, the ground is frozen and we can't dig down and see. So we are hoping that he is going to be able to buy some, it's called heat tape, I think is what it's called, and wrap the pipe coming into the house as far as we can and hope that that will be enough to keep the whole pipe warm enough to let water come back into the house. And then the other thing that we ran into is we hadn't yet received our certificate of occupancy. And so if you will remember, January 3rd is when the inspector was out. January 4th is when we filmed the video. And we were told that we would get paperwork in the mail. Well, 2 weeks went by. We hadn't gotten any paperwork. We were in the process of getting a homeowner's quote. The house is currently insured as a construction site, not a house, because it wasn't legally habitable as a house when we bought it. And so they said, we need to be sure that you have your certificate of occupancy. And we said, well, we're expecting paperwork in the mail, but it hasn't come yet. And so when we followed up with the inspector, it took a few days to get a hold of the inspector, which was actually helpful because we thought the inspector worked for the town of Lodi, which is where our house is located. It turns out the inspector actually works out of the county office and is assigned to Lodi and a few other townships. So that was really helpful information. So once we finally got a hold of the county, office. We were able to get a hold of our inspector, and there was one last inspection he needed to do before he could issue the certificate. So he met Peter on the property on Tuesday, so 3 days ago, and signed off on all of the things in the system and formally issued us our certificate of occupancy. It is actually kind of a certificate. It's not one of those really cool horizontal ones with the border, but it does have this very official looking seal, I guess, or letterhead at the top, and it says that we do have a certificate of occupancy and we are a legally approved dwelling. So that took 2.5 weeks to get sorted. So we now have proof that we have a certificate of occupancy. We're working on getting our homeowners insurance set up. I've never seen a homeowners insurance policy, so I want to give a huge shout out to Art at Tri-Town Insurance. He spent 45 minutes with me on the phone walking through what every aspect of the policy that he's proposed that we accept means and does and how we might use it, which was incredibly helpful. And so now we are looking at when we might be able to move. The windows and doors should be purchased and on site in the next few days. Of course, that doesn't mean they're going to be installed in the next few days, just that they'll be purchased and available. The other complication that's arisen with timing is a happy one. Peter, who does sales for an online course platform called Rizuku, is doing kind of a big sales push right now, which is great for finances, but it means that his schedule is not as open and flexible as it normally is. And so we're trying to work around that. We're trying to work around James's schedule, trying to get some kind of idea of how long the windows and door process might take. So at this point, I am cautiously optimistic that we'll be able to move in the next week, at least enough into the house. It is going to be, and mother, cover your ears, glorified camping. I don't think there's any way they will finish all the windows and doors in 1 week and some of the finishing work that is left to do. And that means the house will not have an opportunity to be cleaned from top to bottom, which is unfortunate, but we simply can't afford to be paying rent any longer than is absolutely necessary. So we're just going to make do with what we have. At the moment, I am hoping to bring you a moving video sometime in the next 2 weeks. I hope those aren't famous last words. I do feel a little uncomfortable putting them out in the universe because the universe has a funny way of throwing that back in your face. I do know that I will have a video for you next week on our 2025 goals for the property because it has been slow. At the property for the last 3 weeks, I've really been sitting down and thinking through, what is realistic to do this year on the property versus all the things that I want to do. And I assure you, the want to do list is quite long. So that video will be coming on Tuesday, and then hopefully I will have some video updates for you on windows and doors. Thank you to those of you, by the way, who have used the Buy Me a Coffee donation. It feels kind of weird to thank people because I don't want people who are not in a position to help financially to feel bad in any way. But I also was raised by a mother who had me write thank you cards for every gift that I received from somebody not my parents growing up. And it feels equally weird to not say thank you. So I want to say thank you to those of you who used the Buy Me a Coffee link and helped us out financially. I cannot tell you how incredible a feeling that is. And for those of you who aren't able to support financially, that is perfectly okay. I am so grateful you're here, and your comments and your views and your likes also help. So thank you to everybody who's been such a great support, and I will see you soon in my next video. Bye for now.